This story is about a great war between an alien galactic syndicate and humans on Earth. The syndicate sends deadly bioweapons to destroy humanity, but humans do something strange: they cook and eat the very creatures meant to kill them. This act of sharing food turns weapons into bonds of community, joy, and hope. The story explores powerful emotions like fear, pride, defiance, and ultimately, unexpected unity. The stakes are huge. If humans keep turning death into shared meals, can the syndicate really win? The tone is dramatic, intense, and full of strong visuals and deep feelings, showing how food becomes a symbol of survival and peace in a violent galaxy. The Galactic Syndicate was certain they would win. From their great warships floating near Earth's dying sun, the Syndicate's leaders watched with cruel smiles. Their plan was perfect. They would send terrible monsters, living weapons designed to destroy humans, into Earth's oceans and swamps. The creatures were made to spread poison, pain, and death. Admiral Zodok, the leader of the Syndicate's War Council, admired the schedule for the deadly attacks. The monsters would spread like a virus, making Earth's waters and coasts deadly to humans. At 3 o'clock in the morning, the first pods hit Earth's Pacific Ocean. The Syndicate waited quietly in their dark ships, eager to see the humans fall. But Earth was not as weak as they thought. Far away, in a small apartment in Seoul, South Korea, a young woman named Yuna climbed 5 flights of stairs, exhausted but excited. Her small kitchen was bright and colorful, decorated with pink gadgets and cute things that made the space warm and friendly. Yuna was not just tired from the climb, she was hungry. She set down her groceries and prepared for a live stream. Millions of people around the world watched as she carefully placed a strange new creature on her cutting board. It was called a thullusk, but fishermen called it the devil squid because of its many eyes and wriggling tentacles. Yuna smiled, her voice calm and confident as she explained, "Today, we have something special, something never seen on any menu before." The chat exploded with messages: "That thing has too many eyes. Why is it screaming? It's trying to grab her hand." But Yuna stayed focused. She pointed to a purple sac on the squid, explaining that it was toxic. With a swift, practiced motion, she cut it out, ignoring the creature's screams that shattered glasses and scared nearby cats. "Fresh," she said, holding up a piece of raw, twitching squid. She added sesame oil and spicy sauce, then popped it in her mouth. Her eyes widened in surprise. "It tastes like uni, but more complex," she said. "There's a strange tingling, probably from the glowing parts." Far above Earth, the Syndicate's junior analyst Quiven watched the feed in horror. Her screen showed the live broadcast, and her tentacles trembled. "We are receiving something unusual," she told her supervisor. The broadcast was not just one channel, it was on all frequencies. Humans were showing how to prepare and eat their bioweapons. The supervisor's colors shifted through shades of disbelief and anger. "Get me the Admiral now." Admiral Zodok watched silently as Yuna grilled the squid on her stream. "She's eating it, with sauce," he muttered. The humans were not afraid. They joked about the poison ink turning into marinade, and the chat was filled with wild ideas. Millions watched, and the videos spread. More humans were going to fish markets, asking for the screaming squid. The Syndicate's perfect plan was crumbling. The Admiral ordered Phase 2, deploy the trick hounds. These were great hunting beasts, 9 feet tall with claws that could cut steel. They were released into the Florida Everglades, an ideal swamp where they could hunt and kill humans easily. But Florida was no stranger to danger. Ricky Thibault, a man who had lived in the glades for 43 years, spotted strange tracks, not from any animal he knew. His sharp eyes saw the signs: broken branches high in trees, torn apart alligator remains. This was no python. Ricky called his militia, a rough group of hunters and fighters. They gathered in boats, armed with guns and crossbows. "This ain't a python," Ricky said, "this is something new, something worse." The militia was ready. They found the first drake hound sunning itself on the mud bank, its scales blending perfectly with the swamp. Jimbo, the tobacco-chewing man with a thermal scope, spotted it. The creature roared, a sound that shook windows miles away. Big Sue fired her crossbow, piercing the beast's tough scales. The fight was fierce and fast. The drake hound moved like lightning, claws slicing through boat walls, tails smashing a man into mangroves. But the hunters fought back with stubborn courage. Big Sue held the creature's jaws open while the Ramirez brothers threw a net over it. Ricky jumped on its back with a machete, aiming for weak spots. Finally, the drake hound stopped moving. Silence fell. Then Jimbo raised his beer, shouting, "Meat's back on the menu, boys." The victory was loud, wild, and full of pride. Videos of the fight spread quickly. Soon, Bubba's Alien Barbecue show taught viewers how to butcher drake hounds, how to marinate the tough meat overnight with secret recipes. The venom glands were used to make hot sauce, and people argued whether the beast tasted better angry or calm. Hunting parties grew across the South. Texas held a drake hound rodeo and barbecue festival. Louisiana chefs mixed alien meat with Creole spices. Mississippi declared a state holiday. The syndicate's best warriors became festival food, trophies of human defiance. Quiven watched, her voice flat with disbelief. The drake hound population, once 10,000 strong, was now just 6. Humans had turned monsters into community. Streams showed hunters calling their shows Meal Team 6, stalking through swamps with jokes and advice. The syndicate soldiers, masters of deadly combat, were being hunted like animals. The humans were not afraid. They were sharing stories, recipes, and laughter while they fought. Quiven warned her superiors, humans were stronger because they shared food and joy, something the syndicate's cold logic could not understand. The warships descended toward Earth's cookout, their weapons ready. The honor guard, towering warriors clad in shifting armor, entered the gathering. Their leader, Warlord Kanak, carried weapons from hundreds of conquered worlds. He saw humans cooking and sharing food, no fear in their eyes. His scanners detected strange chemicals in the air, joy, comfort, bonding. The warlord roared, "Your world ends now." But the humans only laughed. Yuna held out grilled tentacles with sauce. "Try this," she said. "It's alien, but delicious." The crowd cheered. Children shared plates, strangers offered drinks. The warlord's confusion grew. His translators failed to explain what was happening. Humans were not just eating, they were sharing memories, love, and strength. An old man, Jerry Horvath, stepped forward. His hands shook as he held out a plate of brisket. "You ever had Texas brisket?" he asked the warlord. "This is love and memory in every bite. We don't just eat to live. We eat to remember." The crowd went silent, feeling the power in Jerry's words. Food is family. Food is peace. You sent us weapons. We made them into bonds. The warlord's weapon wavered. He did not understand. Then a small child named Brilly offered him a plate of food, mac and cheese with alien meat, made just for him. But Kanak struck it down, breaking the child's faith in peace. The crowd's mood darkened. They would not let the insult go unanswered. A fierce fight broke out, but it was not like any battle before. Humans fought with folding chairs and banners, laughing while they cooked and prepared food from their enemies. The aliens were confused and broken by this strange violence mixed with hospitality. The humans were not just fighting, they were making a feast. Jerry faced Kanak, carving carefully between armor plates. "You don't understand us," Jerry said. "We are the only species who turns enemies into family through food." The warlord fell, defeated not by weapons but by shared meals and memories. The war was over. The humans had won by eating together, by turning death into life and fear into joy. The syndicate had sent weapons, but humans made them into stories, songs, and dinners that bound their community stronger than any army. The sun rose over the ashes of the battlefield, but this was no ordinary war's end. Instead of silence or smoke from endless fire, the air smelled of smoke from hundreds of grills, rich with spices and sweet sauces. Humans had not just survived the war, they had turned it into a celebration of life. The Great Bass Pro Shop in Arkansas was now the heart of this new world, an intergalactic barbecue cook-off, a place where old enemies became friends over shared plates of alien meat. Quiven, the syndicate's former analyst, watched from her ship in orbit, still stunned. She had resigned her position, unable to accept how the humans had twisted her bioweapons into bonds of community. What she saw was more than survival. It was transformation. The great beasts sent to kill had become memories, stories, and recipes. On Earth, Yuna's live stream continued to draw millions. She brushed sesame oil on a still twitching tentacle, her hands moving with skill born from generations of cooks before her. "My grandmother taught me this folding technique when I was 7, she said softly. She showed me how to make food stretch during hard times. I miss her every day. Sharing this with you is like sharing a piece of her." Across the country, Ricky Thibault tended his giant smoker, a rusty old shipping container turned magical. The scent of his dry-rubbed drake hound meat floated over the crowd like a warm hug. Nearby, people wiped tears from their eyes. "That smell," an older woman said, "it's not just meat. It's Sunday dinner. It's home." The food carried stories of family, loss, and love, bringing strangers together as if they had known each other for years. In towns and cities around the world, alien meat became the new language of friendship. A Pakistani grandmother taught her granddaughter how to fold samosas filled with drake hound meat, while war veterans argued about which part tasted most like the old army rations. Children laughed as they mixed tentacle nuggets with familiar snacks, inventing strange new flavors that broke all rules, but somehow worked. Aaron Jones, a young chemist and food lover, explained to curious college students how human brains responded differently to taste and smell. "Humans are time travelers," he said with a grin. "Every flavor carries a memory. Every meal is a story waiting to be told." The crowd nodded, drawn into his passion for the strange new foods that had brought Earth together. The Galactic Syndicate had not counted on this. They saw eating as simple fuel, a cold process with no meaning beyond survival. But humans had turned food into communion. They did not just consume, they shared, remembered, and healed. At the cookout, Father Miguel and Rabbi Sarah stood side by side, watching the crowd move between grills and tables. "It's like the loaves and fishes," Father Miguel said quietly. "A miracle, not from gods, but from people." Rabbi Sarah smiled. "Yes, a miracle of unity, even among those who once fought bitterly." As music played, an unpredictable mix of K-pop, Johnny Cash, and accordion, humans danced and laughed, strangers becoming friends over shared plates and new recipes. Ana Gutierrez showed a group how to grind spices with volcanic rock, adding Cthulhu ink for color. "Food is love you can taste," she said. "These aliens gave us new ways to love." Quiven recorded everything, fascinated and troubled. The humans' neurochemical patterns showed massive releases of serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin, the chemicals of joy and bonding. They were literally rewiring their brains through shared meals and stories. This was beyond anything the Syndicate had predicted. The Galactic Council was in chaos. Representatives from hundreds of worlds argued over how to deal with the human problem. Some feared Earth's strange power. Others wanted to isolate it. The Syndicate delegates were missing, too ashamed to face the Council after their defeat by potluck dinners. In her final report, Quiven revealed startling statistics. Bioweapons had integrated fully into human culture. Coastal towns once struggling now thrived on tourism and community hunts. Crime rates dropped as people bonded over alien recipes and hunting rituals. Children learned to count with tentacles. Old grudges melted away over casseroles and shared laughter. Yet, the war was not forgotten. Humans honored their dead with cookouts and stories, turning pain into connection. They remembered the monsters who had fallen and made them part of their lives. This was their strength, a refusal to let fear and hate win. Back at the cookout, a sudden broadcast interrupted the celebrations. Una and Todd, the Florida man, appeared with a special episode titled, Cooking with Cosmos. They held up a piece of warlord brain, preparing it with humor and care. Millions watched in shock and awe. "This brain is tough," Una said, "but with the right sauce, it's delicious. It tastes like defeat, but with a hint of sweetness." Todd added, "Don't overthink it. Just enjoy. Brain is brain, whether gator, pig, or alien." The broadcast caused ripples across the galaxy. Several worlds withdrew from the Galactic Council. Some formed defensive alliances against Earth. One began building massive shields powered by a Dyson sphere. Earth's victory through cooking terrified and fascinated everyone. But Earth's people only laughed and cooked more. Jerry Horvath, the old mechanic, carved brisket with steady hands, telling anyone who would listen, "You don't understand us. We don't just eat. We remember, we share, we become family." When Warlord Kanak returned, angry and confused, he faced humans who had become something new. The war was over not by weapons, but by the strange, messy power of food, memory, and love. The world was changing. The alien bioweapons that had once terrorized Earth were now part of everyday life. Across cities and towns, humans had built a new culture around them, a culture of sharing, cooking, and connection. Where once there was fear, now there was laughter, smoke from grills, and the smell of spices. Humans had transformed weapons of destruction into symbols of survival and hope. In a small kitchen in Seoul, Una prepared for another live stream. Her hands moved fast and sure, folding pieces of alien meat into delicate dumplings. "This is the story of survival," she said softly to her camera. "Every bite tells a tale of family, loss, and joy." Her viewers numbered in the millions, eager to learn not just how to cook, but how to live through darkness. Far from Earth, Quiven watched these streams with growing admiration. The humans had defeated the Syndicate not with technology or armies, but with something deeper. They had found strength in community, in the simple act of sharing food. Quiven recorded data and emotions, trying to understand what made humanity unique. In Florida, Ricky Thibault led a group of hunters on a mission. The Drake hounds were rare now, only a handful remained. But they were still dangerous. Ricky's team moved quietly through the swamp, their eyes sharp, their weapons ready. Yet, even in the hunt, there was kindness. They shared stories, laughed at old jokes, and passed around bottles of homemade hot sauce made from Drake hound venom. "Remember when we thought these beasts would end us?" Ricky said, smiling. "Now they bring us together." The hunters nodded, knowing that their struggle had become a symbol of resilience. The hunt was no longer just about survival, it was a way to honor the past and build the future. Back at the Great Cookout in Arkansas, the air was alive with music and conversation. The crowd was a tapestry of cultures, ages, and stories. Pakistani grandmothers taught samosa folding to children, while veterans debated the best ways to grill alien meat. Neighbors who had never spoken before exchanged recipes and smiles. Jerry Horvath, the old mechanic, sat quietly at a table, carving slices of his famous brisket. His hands moved with practiced care, each cut a ritual of memory and love. Beside him sat Brilly, the 7-year-old who had once offered the warlord a plate of mac and cheese. Her eyes sparkled with the wonder of a child who had grown up in a world where monsters became meals and enemies became friends. "Do you think the aliens will come back?" Brilly asked Jerry softly. Jerry looked down at his plate, then smiled. "Maybe," he said. "But if they do, we'll be ready. Not because we have the best weapons, but because we know how to share a meal." The Galactic Syndicate was not done yet. The honor guard had fled after their defeat, but the syndicate's leaders were furious. They sent new fleets, new weapons, and more bioweapons to Earth's orbit. They believed they could still crush humanity's spirit with fire and fear. But Earth's people were prepared. Cities had built defenses, but more importantly, they had built unity. Across the world, communities stood ready to face whatever came next. They would fight if they had to, but they would never forget the power of coming together around a table. On the front lines, soldiers cooked meals for each other, sharing stories and laughter between battles. Food became the fuel of their spirit, reminding them what they fought for: family, home, and hope. In a hidden lab, scientists studied the strange effects of alien bioweapons on human brains. They discovered new neural pathways, linking taste and memory in ways no other species had. Humans were not just eating to live, they were eating to remember, to heal, and to grow stronger. The syndicate's leaders called for new strategies. They could not understand how to fight a species that used food as a weapon. They sent envoys to negotiate, but humans welcomed them with feasts, sharing recipes and stories. One envoy, a being named Mimar, arrived at the cookout. She was old, with eyes that had seen countless worlds fall. But as she tasted the food, tears filled her eyes. "This reminds me of my home," she whispered. "Not of war, but of peace." Humans smiled, offering her more. The cookout was no longer just a meal, it was a symbol of hope for a galaxy tired of conflict. In the dark halls of the syndicate's ships, fear grew. The human strange, messy strength was beyond any weapon. It was the strength of connection, of shared stories and meals, of laughter in the face of death. Quiven, once a loyal analyst, now prepared to join Earth's new exchange program. She had learned that the greatest power was not technology, but love and community. The war was no longer about conquest. It was about survival, survival through kindness, through sharing, and through the simple act of breaking bread together. The Galactic Syndicate's warships hovered ominously over Earth's cities, their dark silhouettes blotting out the stars. Yet, below them, the world was alive with a warmth the Syndicate could not touch. Smoke curled from thousands of grills, and laughter rose like a battle cry stronger than any weapon. In a small town in Texas, the annual Drakehound Rodeo and Barbecue Festival was in full swing. Families and strangers gathered, sharing recipes and stories about the great hunts. The meat was tough and spicy, but the sauce was sweeter than victory. Children ran between tables, their faces glowing with joy. The festival was more than food, it was a living memory of how humanity had faced extinction and turned it into celebration. At the festival, Ricky Thibault watched with pride. "We didn't just survive the monsters," he told a group of young hunters. "We made them part of us. Every hunt, every meal, is a story we tell. It's how we remember who we are." Far away, on a Syndicate flagship, Admiral Zodok's chromatic skin pulsed with fury. "These humans mock us with their feasts," he snarled. "Their weapons are laughter and sauce. We will crush them, but this time, personally." He summoned the Honor Guard, the finest warriors in the Syndicate, and ordered them to Earth. The Honor Guard arrived in force, towering and terrible. Their armor shifted like living metal, weapons humming with deadly energy. They strode through the cookout, their presence silencing the crowd. Warlord Kanak led them, his eyes blazing with anger and disbelief. But the humans did not scatter. Instead, they stood tall, offering plates of food and open hands. Yuna approached Kanak, holding a grilled tentacle glazed with sauce. "Try this," she said calmly. "It's peace on a plate." Kanaka's weapons hummed, but his confusion grew. The humans were not afraid. Children stepped forward, sharing mac and cheese mixed with alien meat. Brilly, the 7-year-old, looked up at the warlord with fearless eyes. "You're just hungry," she said. "Everyone gets mean when they're hungry. Here, have some happy." Kanaka's rage faltered. He did not understand this strange species that welcomed enemies with food instead of fear. His weapons lowered slightly, but then, in a sudden violent gesture, he slapped the child's plate to the ground, shattering the fragile piece. The crowd's mood darkened instantly. The insult was deep and personal. Humans do not make children cry at their cookouts. The anger was quiet but fierce, like the calm before a storm. Big Sue grabbed a folding chair and swung it at a soldier. The fight exploded, but it was unlike any battle the Syndicate had faced. Humans fought with laughter, cooking tools, and fierce stubbornness. They cracked open Drake Hound shells like nuts and tossed banners reading, "Welcome to Flavor Town," over fallen enemies. Jerry Horvath moved with surprising grace, carving precise cuts into Kanaka's armor with a knife worn smooth by years of use. "You don't understand us," he said between strikes. "We turn enemies into family through food. Every meal is a peace treaty." Kanak stumbled, his systems failing under the strange assault. Purple liquid leaked from his wounds, the essence of bioweapons turned meals. The warlord fell, defeated not by power, but by shared stories and memories baked into every bite. The battle lasted only minutes. The honor guard surrendered, surrounded by humans who already debated marinades and cooking times. "We surrender," one whispered, voice trembling. Yuna smiled, knife gleaming. "Eat you. You haven't marinated long enough," she said. Laughter filled the air, not cruel but warm, the sound of a world healed through food and shared humanity. The war was over. The Syndicate's greatest weapons had been turned into the heart of a new culture. Humans had won by eating together, by turning fear into joy, and enemies into friends. Back at the cookout, Brilly held a new plate high, offering it to the surrendered aliens. "You can have some if you say sorry," she said softly. "But you have to mean it. And you have to share nice." Kanak was gone, fleeing in disgrace, but the message was clear: Earth was united, stronger than any army, because it was bound by something the Syndicate could never understand. The morning after the battle, Earth awoke to a quiet unlike any before. The sky was clear, and the smoke from countless grills drifted gently, carrying stories of survival and peace. The Galactic Syndicate's ships had retreated, but the impact of what had happened would echo through the galaxy forever. At the heart of the great cookout, people gathered around tables piled high with dishes made from the once feared bioweapons. Laughter and music filled the air, the chaotic playlist shifting from old Earth tunes to alien rhythms blended with human spirit. Children chased each other between tents, faces smudged with sauce and smiles wide. Brilly sat with her mother and Jerry Horvath, the old mechanic who had faced the warlord. She cradled a plate of alien tentacles glazed in spicy sauce and mac and cheese, the perfect blend of the strange and the familiar. "Do you think they'll come back?" she asked quietly. Her mother smiled, eyes on Yuna's latest live stream. "After today, I don't think anyone will bother Earth for a long time. We've shown them what it means to be human." Around the world, the ripples of change spread. In Seattle, former gang members found peace over Drakehound jerky recipes. In Tokyo, children learned to count by sorting tentacle pieces, turning monsters into math lessons. In Cairo, longtime enemies reconciled over casseroles made from alien meat and memories. Humanity had faced extinction and turned it into a potluck. They asked the most human question possible about the deadly creatures sent to destroy them: is it good with garlic? Far beyond Earth, Quiven sat in a small office on a distant world, filling out paperwork for Earth's new intergalactic exchange program. When asked about dietary restrictions, she smiled and wrote simply, "None willing to try anything once." The Galactic Council continued to debate the human problem, but Earth had changed the rules. No longer just a planet to conquer, it was a place of unity, strength, and stories baked into every shared meal. On Earth, the annual Intergalactic Barbecue Memorial Cook-Off became a symbol of hope. A celebration of resilience, community, and the power of food to heal wounds deeper than any weapon could reach. And somewhere, deep in the cosmos, the human's message rang true: don't start none. Won't be none. But if you do start something, bring your own sauce. They'll provide the sides.